Well, hi again, Beaver Nation, and welcome to the fourth and final part of the four-part series with Oregon State Director of Athletics, Todd Stansbury. Todd, great to see you back, and here we are in beautiful Reser Stadium. What a great facility it's been. The Valley Football Center has served the university well. We're going to talk about victory through Valley here in a moment. But just to be back here at Reser Stadium and looking around at this place, and you've seen the growth in it from your earlier stint. Beautiful facility, can get even better, and we'll talk about it. But just what does it mean for you to be back here and look around and see what you see?
Well, that project is what brought me here in the first place. The opportunity to be involved in the Racing Reser project was one of the things that really intrigued me, and I thought that you know, it would be obviously a great professional move when we moved from East Tennessee to Corvallis the first time, and so to see the project that I was intimately involved in creating is pretty special. And
there's more to come, but what were the biggest things that happened, Todd, from your view, that made this possible, that it was a Beaver Nation specialty, so to speak?
Right, well, it was, you know, the Racing Reser project or campaign, everybody paid. You know, obviously we had some real significant contributions from some very special families that everybody knows, but in addition to that, it was, you know, the students chipped in. There was you know, basically every seat had a stadium component to it, and so I think the real pride in Beaver Nation is that everybody had a part in making that possible.
It is such a beautiful, you know, the new side as we talk about it. We're sitting as we conduct this conversation, obviously, on the older side and the other side. We'll get to victory through Valley in a moment and the importance of that next piece and breaking ground and so on. But what about this side that we're sitting on, Todd, and sort of your long-range feel and view of what's possible here, what you'd like to see happen here?
Well, basically, we need to finish the stadium. I think Reser Stadium is a great stadium, has had phenomenal games played here, and I think we are going to have to find a way to finish it off, and that's victory through Valley ultimately, and so it's definitely a priority in trying to figure out how we're going to be able to do that.
Victory through Valley. The building was state-of-the-art when it first envisioned and conceived and built, a football-only facility at the time. The Jerry Pettibone and others were first, you know, putting this in place. So tell us, in your view, Todd, how it served and how well it served, but why now, in Victory Through Valley, the importance of what that phrase means and why this is such a priority now.
Well, you know, when you think about it, the Valley Football Center is really the linchpin that got it all started. And that was really when things started to change around here for the football program, and it has served us well. That's where basically all the student-athlete services reside. The locker room, the training room, the equipment room, the performance table or training table. And so it's time. It's time to upgrade that facility. Obviously, you're looking at the recruiting standpoint and being able to recruit the best young men we can find to come to Oregon State to participate in our football program. But beyond that, this is also the facility that directly serves the needs of the football student athletes.
When you talked about being vitally involved, intricately involved with raising Reser and expanding Beaver Nation, at that time, Todd, did you kind of know that at some point this piece was going to be an important part of the project? And as that has evolved and developed, what were your thoughts about, you know, even though you moved away for a while, you kind of knew this was on the table?
Sure. Well, and I mean, we started off with the east side, and then we bowled in, you know, the north side, and then we just knew that, you know, at some point we would have to come back and finish the Valley Football Center or do an expansion upgrade, and then and eventually move over to the west side. So I mean, it's always been in the plan that we would ultimately finish the stadium, but it would be done in stages.
So this is the stage now. Where are we, Todd, as you come in and kind of inherit a lot of the work that's been done in preparing for breaking ground? What can you tell us here in Beaver Nation about where we sit with Victory Through Valley as we sit here today getting ready for the Gary Anderson area here in a couple of weeks?
Sure. Well, we anticipate and we're planning to break ground in at the end of November, right after our final home game. And right now we're kind of finalizing the design plans, and we feel really good about the design and what that budget looks like. We've got a little gap in funding that we need to close over the next 3 months, and of course we've got some major proposals out there to some really good supporters that have supported us in the past, and so we need to close those and be ready in November to hit the ground running with that project, so that it'll be ready for the fall of 2016.
The term, the phrase itself, I like. I mean, I remember enjoying invoking the phrase raising Reeser and expanding Beaver Nation. I like saying Victory Through Valley because the two do go hand in hand, don't they?
Yeah, and I mean, since we did Racing Reeser, the Pac-12 has come along. Everybody in the conference has made significant upgrades, and so it's now it's something that we have to do. And nobody's standing still in this conference, and I know that it's becoming evident because there are some that would argue right now that it's the best football conference in America.
And that being said, Todd, I mean, to be in such a competitive, maybe the best, premier football conference in the country. When you talk about raising Reeser, was everybody in Beaver Nation was involved? My assumption is Victory Through Valley, the completion of the west side, all of those things. It again has to be everybody in Beaver Nation's got to buy in.
Right. That's how we do it around here, and so this will be no different. It's going to require an all hands on deck effort, but I know that Beaver Nation will step up, and we're looking forward to completing the stadium.
You know, Todd, I know we've touched on this in other conversations in this series, but part of that, people have been very generous within Beaver Nation through all of these projects, but a real tangible way is to just buy tickets to the game. So to give us, again, maybe a feel for the importance of season tickets in the Gary Anderson era, or even the mini packs, all those things, little ways that people can help.
Sure. Obviously, butts and seats is huge. We now are fortunate that every single game is on television. Well, guess what? It's a double-edged sword because, yeah, you can sit at home, but we need you in the seats so that people like me on the East Coast see a full stadium. And so obviously the financial aspects of buying tickets helps. The donation associated with the ticket is what goes towards scholarships that allows us to attract these incredible young people to participate in athletics here. And then, of course, there's always capital gifts, that if you want to make a gift specifically to one of these projects, you can do that too, or all the above.
Exactly. The all of the above, I mean, again, we're blessed to be around so many people who've given so generously through the years, but to get everything done in the hopes that all of Beaver Nation has, it does need to be an all hands on deck effort. So I appreciate you articulating that again, Todd. I'm wondering, as the season begins to unfold, and you mentioned every game's on television, the double-edged sword part of that. One thing that we do hear at times from Beaver fans is the night games at times can be difficult, trying to get here and deal with all of that. Do you, as much of a blessing as the Pac-12 networks and television is there any ongoing conversations along those lines to make it as equitable as possible, I guess, for all 12 members in this conference with respect to night games and the travel involved?
Sure. I mean, you're always lobbying, for the best situation for your program and for your fans, but ultimately, TV is going to fill those slots with what they think are going to, generate the most eyeballs. And, so I mean, that's one of those, again, the double-edged sword of television. But it goes all the way back to, Bear Bryant saying he'd play at midnight if that's what he had to do. So, it's what we need, especially, I think that's one of the reasons that we're now being recognized nationally as a football power conference. that I remember a day when it was you know, the East Coast bias and they don't know who we are and all that. Well, know what? Now they do, and a lot of that is because of television. So while I know that it's you know, playing night games isn't for everybody, we have to overcome that. And the interesting thing is, in Florida, they don't want to play day games. So, you know, everybody's, you know, having to you know, overcome something to have their team on television on a regular basis, and so we need you to show up regardless of when we play.
No, no question about that. And as Coach Anderson goes about his business here, and certainly he's off to a great start in terms of his rapport and relationship with Beaver Nation. Winning football games on a regular basis, that helps. You know, as much of people may have a commitment philosophically to come to games, yes, nothing quite like winning, huh?
Nothing.
You
like
saw
winning.
that at Orlando, I'm sure.
Yeah, we sure did. You know, you win games and people will show up. So ultimately, you can do all the marketing and game times and do all the things that you can do, but you know, wins trump all.
And yet the fan experience is vital. You can enhance it by various things, and the things you're talking about. And with respect to that, how excited are you about a new concessionaire here? Tell us a little bit about that and what fans can look forward to.
Sure. We've got a new concessionaire in Levy, and I'm extremely excited because one of the things that they one of the reasons that they were chosen was because of their emphasis on going local brands, local produce, trying to make basically Reser Stadium the way you remember Corvallis when you went to school here. And I really believe that that's, you know, as far as our brand is concerned, the Oregon State brand, I think it really comes down to authentic Oregon. So it fits right into what I think we need to be doing as we elevate and reinforce that brand, that Oregon State is authentic and it represents Oregon, authentic Oregon.
I want to close and have you put your football hat on for a moment as a former outside linebacker at Georgia Tech, right? You were an outside backer, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so that means you could play in Kalani Sitake and Gary Anderson's 3-4, probably even right now with the speed that you had. Tell us a little bit. You still have, I'm sorry, the speed that you have. But if you don't mind, some part of that speed, tell me about how often you actually ran against Ben Johnson, for example.
Well, I grew up against Ben, so I fortunately or unfortunately ran against him a number of times. Him, of course, in lane 4, and me are in 1 or 8.
But good competition, though, right?
Oh yeah.
And
yeah.
speed in the Gary. I know football. Everybody wants to know about. So I'm going to have you be a football coach here for just a second, or a football guy. The conversion from the 4-3 to the 3-4, Todd. How significant is that, and how important is that speed element in what we're talking about?
It's huge, but I think it's the right thing to do given the speed of the conference and how wide open these offenses are. So I think that it's going to be fun to watch. I know that.
No question, it's going to be exciting with a new look on defense, a new look on offense. And Todd, I don't know what your thoughts are about expectations and what prognosticators say and the so-called experts. I'm not sure even how our fans feel about all of that, but I do know there's genuine excitement building towards the team taking the field here against Weber State, and wins, losses, all of that this year. I don't know how that's going to look, but what are your thoughts just about that sense of anticipation and expectation you can feel around here?
Sure, I think that the anticipation of a new era, I think Gary and the success that he's had at other places definitely has our people energized. And of course, we've got a very young team, so I think that's the other part of it. I don't know that we know what we have at this point, but it's exciting. He's got the team energized. There's a lot of competition going on out there. And so I think that it's going to be a fun year, and I don't know. I don't think it can get started fast enough. Weber
State, of course, the opener, and then a trip back to Ann Arbor. in Michigan. A lot of people excited about that too. So there's a lot of stuff to be excited about, and the fan experience has always been important. You want to win the football game first and foremost, but I assume that everything and some other exciting elements in place for pregame activities and all the stuff that's gone on, a lot more of that to come this year.
Sure, I know that they've revamped the Truax experience, and people are very excited about that, and pretty much opening that up to the masses, which I think is going to be great. The other thing is I brought, you know, my deputy AD for external with me from UCF, and in the land of Disney, customer service is extremely important, so I know that he's going to be really, clued in on what that experience looks like and how we can improve it as we go along.
Well, we touched on those themes a little bit before. You've certainly benefited a lot in your 3.5-year journey away to Orlando. We'll see some of that manifested here in the fan experience and so on. But Todd, I've got to say, it's great to have you back at Oregon State and in Corvallis. Have you been feeling the same thing, that you've hit the ground running back home with familiar faces and people, even though you brought some new people with you?
Yeah.
You feel like you've come home?
Oh, most definitely. And I mean, everywhere I go, people that I don't even know are saying welcome home. So it's a very, very heartwarming experience for us to come back.
We're glad to have you back, Todd. Thanks for doing this series with us. We really appreciate it. Now let's go beat Weber State.
Yeah, let's do that one at a time.
Okay, go Beavs. Thank you, Todd. Thanks to all of you for joining us. That wraps up our 4-part series. We hope you've enjoyed it here on OSUBeavers.com. We'll see you against Weber State right here on September 4th. So long, everybody.